Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining in. Today's topic is how to hire an executive virtual assistant and save 20 plus hours per week. And so, what we're going to talk about are things like how do you find a virtual assistant? When does it make sense to hire? I'm sorry, not virtual assistant, executive virtual assistant. When does it make sense to hire an EA versus other roles? How to build SOPs so that way, if you hire them, you don't have to, watch them every step of the way, and they can actually be more productive for the business. What skills to look for when you interview them, what personality traits, things like that, and then some of the most common mistakes that business owners make. So we've got Adam. Adam here is our head of hiring managers. He oversees literally hundreds of interviews every week with clients that hire for many different roles, and so he's an expert on a lot of different hiring roles and decisions. And so he's going to be the main person conducting this, and then I'll be the co-host.
All
All
right.
right. Awesome, Adam. So
Awesome.
let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is what can an executive assistant actually do? Because a lot of times people don't really even understand that. I'd love to have you maybe go into that, and we'll go from there.
Of course, of course. So I think, first of all, thank you, Abbas, and thank you everyone for joining. Super excited to kind of shed some light on what an EA can do to help your company overall. So like Abbas said, I'm the head of hiring managers here at Remote Leverage, and we hire tons of executive assistants every day, every week. It's a very big role that we hire for. So excited to kind of tell you guys how we do it, how we go about it, and
Is
what they can
is
actually do
is
for you.
that like probably the second most common role, probably right after sales, right?
Yeah, I would say sales. Yeah, sales is top, and then executive assistant for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so I think everybody knows like the big ones that executive assistants can do for an executive, for an owner of a company. They obviously can like help manage an inbox, help manage a calendar, help schedule, reschedule, confirm meetings, whatever on the calendar, and then of course like book travel and things like that. But they're very versatile and they can do many things apart from that. Anything from preparing agendas, taking notes on meetings that you have, sending follow-ups to clients, tracking action items, keeping track of those for you, updating CRMs, whatever CRM you use, they're very adaptable. They can pick up whatever you're using and help you update that. Building SOPs for you is a big one, just to make sure that things are organized. Organizing files, pulling basic reports, coordinating with vendors, even light project tracking, and then of course like personal tasks as well,
Yeah.
if you need those, like appointment booking, event planning, even gift purchasing. If you need it done, they can help you out.
Yeah.
Um,
They're essentially like a right hand person for you. Anytime a customer or a client comes over to us to hire for an executive assistant, typically what we like to do is we try to understand, are they looking for an executive assistant or an admin? And they're a little different. So for us, if someone comes in and says, "Hey, I want to hire someone to do the same exact work over and over and over and over again. It doesn't require a lot of thinking. It doesn't require a lot of brain power. Typically, we steer them towards hiring an admin, which is like a cheaper role. It's an admin is like a basic executive assistant. Their job is to maybe do things like data entry, things like, updating the CRM in a specific way that you already teach them how to do. So they're kind of like a entry level executive assistant. Now, sometimes clients come to us, and this is especially true for smaller businesses that don't have a lot of employees. Like if you have 50 employees already, 100 employees, you might not need an executive assistant because you might already have people like that, but you just have so many things going on in the business that need actual people to update or whatever. In those cases, you would want to hire admins to just kind of keep the system up to date. Like for us, we get about 1,500 applicants a day, and so for we need someone to basically keep the CRM updated. I don't need an executive assistant to do that because that's kind of overkill for a role like that where it's just data entry, updating stages of the candidates, whatever. So for that, like we would hire an admin. Now, in other situations, especially if you're running a smaller business, you might be figuring out early processes like building out whatever CRM, building your actual CRM, building pipelines, maybe doing things that you haven't figured out how to do, but you just don't want to deal with, right? So like if we were working on a new, like right now we're working on a new product, right? We're going to launch very very soon, and so in that product I don't have a set repeatable process I've built out yet. I am in the process of building things out, And as I'm doing that, I don't want to have to figure out every step of the way to build the product. So what I would do is I have an executive assistant, for example, and it's like, hey, this is one part of the product I want you to build out. I don't know how to do it because I haven't invested the time into doing it. So I'm going to expect you to go figure it out on your own. Don't ask me questions, just show me the final result. And so that's kind of the difference. That an executive assistant can really be a right-hand person and figure things out on their own without you having to teach them every single thing. Whereas with an admin, for example, you basically have to show them what to do and they'll just keep doing it over and over again. And so a lot of times when clients come to us, that's one of the first things we try to figure out is like, what do you actually need? Do you want someone who's going to be a right-hand person that figures things out on their own, or do you want them to just do the same tasks over and over again that you will teach them how to do?
Exactly, 100%. So building off that a little bit, I'm talking about the things they can do. This is also going to solve problems for you. So I wanted to talk about some of the problems that it's going to help you solve and make your life a little bit easier on your day to day at work. So obviously, like surface level problems, your overwhelming inbox. We all get hundreds of emails about promotions, whatever it may be. They're always coming in. Notification updates, things are always clogging up your inbox. So an executive assistant is going to be able to take that and organize it in the day and have it all nice looking so you can keep track of things that actually matter. Again, another thing, your messy calendar. Maybe you have events that aren't as important and you need them moved, or they're going to be able to help you update that, make sure that your schedule is what you need it to be. And then obviously they're going to help you with missed follow-ups. A lot of people are so busy that maybe they miss meetings that are follow-up meetings that are very important. Follow-ups can equal money very directly, so
Yeah.
that is a big deal. And then lastly, but not least, late nights. If you're up late doing admin, an executive assistant is going to be able to take that off your plate so you can enjoy your nights more and have a little bit more free time for yourself and not have to worry about the little admin tasks that might be taking up a lot of your time. And then
Yeah.
going into a little bit more deeper, there are a few more deeper things that they will solve. Founder bottleneck. This is something that a lot of small companies do see, where the founder, everything goes through the founder, the owner, because it's like their baby, right? So they want everything to go through them, all the decisions. They want to be in control of everything. Having an executive assistant, which ends up being your right hand, like a boss said, will help you be able to delegate things, outcomes, I'll say, so you don't have to worry about all the things that happen, and someone will
Yeah.
be helping you.
And just to kind of give you guys examples of that, like in our business here at Remote Leverage, a lot of times people ask me questions that I've already answered 100 times in the past. I don't want to answer those type of questions anymore. I want my mental space as clear as possible so that I can work on building new products or improving whatever the things that I should actually care about that will improve revenue. And so I don't want to be bothered with a new employee coming in. I don't want to go set up their accounts for them. I want to have somebody else do that. I don't want to have to set up their email and their phone and all of these little things. And so, having an EA will help you basically delegate a lot of that stuff. But also like somebody joins into the company, they have basic questions like, "Hey guys, how do I fill out the timesheet to do my payroll?" It's like, don't send that to me. Just send that to the EA team. They will handle it, right? And so things like that. I think if you actually look at what you do per day, you will find a lot of things. A lot of times owners will just do things on the spot very quickly, and they don't realize how much work they're actually doing. They're getting distracted by as they constantly get pinged by their employees or customers or whatever. And so having people to handle these sort of requests and only escalate to you the things that they can't do will be very, very beneficial for a lot of people.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And then you said the next one I see is decision fatigue. Tell me more about that.
Sure. So decision fatigue. Sometimes your day is full of just people asking you, like you said, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? So if you put an EA in charge of decisions, if they're not obviously like very high up decisions that you need to be involved in, you can set rules. You can say if this happens on things that happen all the time, which is at every company, things happen. A lot of the things that happen are recurring and they are the same issues that you see. So you can tell your executive assistant, if this happens, respond with this, and you can make a list of those as they come in, keep track of them, and then the executive assistant can take care of those for you, and you only have to worry about the big decisions that you do need to be involved in.
Yeah.
So then you don't get burned out just answering questions all day that you don't necessarily need to be involved in.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, the idea is that as the business owner, you want to focus on things that drive more revenue. And you doing paperwork, answering basic questions or figuring out little processes that you don't need to figure out yourself, that somebody who's, less qualified than you should be able to figure out on their own. That will leave your basically what I call it brain power to focus on the things that matter the most to the business, which is driving more revenue, more products, better service, whatever. And so that really is the main benefit of hiring an EAs. That will immediately remove a lot of noise from your day-to-day activity, which to me is very, very valuable. And as the business grows more and more and you hire more employees, these type of roles become more important. Like at this point, we have multiple EAs and we want to hire even more because it's like we have so many people that constantly need help, where it's like, I need help with my calendar, I need help with my whatever, right? You don't want to be the person that gets these sort of requests. I want to move on to the next thing. When does it make sense to hire an executive assistant versus other roles? Like if you're brand new to the business, right? Let's say you're a one-person team or it's just you or somebody else, whatever. Should you hire an EA or should you focus on other things? I would say the way I would look at it is what's taking up the majority of your time right now. So for example, if someone comes to us and they're like, hey, I'm spending a lot of my time on sales calls, then it's like, okay, well, how much time are you spending on, say, paperwork and things like that and other things that are not sales related. And if it's only like an hour a day, then you're probably not ready to hire an executive assistant. You should probably hire a salesperson, for example, because that will give you back 6 hours of your day, as an example, right? Or sometimes people come to us and they want to hire an A, but it's like they don't really have any business going. They have no leads, they have no sales. So it's like, okay, well, in that case, let's hire somebody in marketing. I think for you to hire an executive assistant, you should be spending a lot of a big portion of your time on things that require an executive assistant. So things like I said, building a new product, maybe building out a CRM, building out new processes, legal paperwork, things of that nature that you can then immediately delegate to an executive assistant. Now, are you going to have 40 hours a week of that? Absolutely not. I don't think anybody will. But in a lot of cases, if they can save you at least 10 hours a week of you doing that or 20 hours, then they easily pay off for their salary, essentially. Are there any other situations, Adam, from your experience where you're like, you know what, people come to us, they want to hire for one position maybe, but they should have hired an EA?
Yes, so definitely organization is a big one that we see come through where they're like my company's growing and it's kind of getting a little bit out of hand and I can't keep up with all of the back end stuff that I need to keep organized because at the end of the day, if you're not organized at a base level and you get a marketing person or you get a salesperson to get these new leads coming in, if nothing's organized and like nothing's set up on the CRM or SOPs aren't set in place, a lot of those are going to fall through the cracks and it's going to be a waste of the marketer's time or the salesperson's time anyways.
Yeah.
Um, so that's a big one, especially with small business owners. Like they're growing, they're getting new
Small businesses
leads,
are
but
very disorganized. I will tell you that. I mean, I sometimes I see some of these businesses. I'm like, yeah, they have nothing built out, and so in that case, you should be spending a lot of your time building out the processes before you build out marketing and sales. And so, like in that case, you should hire an executive assistant. And by the way, another thing I've noticed is that a lot of business owners that we deal with at least are not very tech savvy, which I understand. I'm not very tech savvy either, and so hiring in EA is in many cases very beneficial because usually they're a lot smarter with tools and tech and that sort of thing, especially if they've worked at like bigger companies in the past or whatever, because they're more accustomed to using different platforms. So that's also very, very helpful in those cases. Like they kind of bring order to the chaos that a smaller business owner will usually have.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. So that's that. How do we build SOPs? Let's talk about that. Building SOPs so that they're kind of self-sufficient in a sense.
Sure. So I think this is something that might overwhelm just thinking about the idea of building out SOPs. Maybe a business owner might be like, "How that sounds like overwhelming. I don't even know how that's going to work." But it's actually really simple because an EA is going to be able to know how to do this for you. It's something that they do that they're very used to. A very skilled one is going to do this for you easily. But really, all you need to do to start the process is to kind of like make a list, I guess, to decide what you want this person to do for you, or what you want the SOP to do. And then obviously you're already doing these tasks for your company. So all you need to do, record you doing this task one time. Do it, use Loom, use a screen recording software, whatever you use. Record it one time, exactly how you want it done. Have the EA read through it or watch through it, make notes, make a whatever they need to do, and then they'll be able to create an SOP just looking at that video, seeing you do the
Yeah.
task. And a very helpful way to do it is checklist based. A lot of our company is based on checklists, which we love it because it tells you exactly what to do and you're not going to miss anything. If you're doing the checklist, going through the SOPs, you're going to do your job the right way and nothing's going to, you're not going to miss anything. So
Yeah,
that's the best way to
100%.
do it.
I want to go through my progression of building out remote leverage because it's been very frustrating. Now we're a lot larger than we used to be. We have about 150 people that work at remote leverage. Back in the day when I had one or two people, I used to get frustrated every single day. I'm like honestly, I thought about shutting down the business just about every day because I'm like, this is so frustrating that people are making so many mistakes. But it was ultimately all my fault when this was a smaller business because I just didn't have the right processes. And so I'll tell you how we build SOPs at Remote Leverage that you could have your executive assistant do or whoever else you hire. The first thing that we do nowadays is we film videos. So we're heavy users of Loom. Loom is a great product if you don't have it. Basically, what it does is it records your screen and it automatically uploads the video to their website. And so anytime you want to show something, right, you just record a Loom video, it automatically saves it online, and then you just copy the URL link and then you add it on a sheet or you send it to whoever and then they can watch it. Just kind of like YouTube. The nice thing about it though is that these are all internal so that somebody from the outside does not have access to your company processes, which is really useful. So we build a Loom video. So initially, when I first started hiring people and showing them how to do different tasks, I used to do a lot of Loom videos, and that caused my stress level to go down a little bit, but not a lot because people would watch these videos and they would still make a lot of mistakes because they're maybe the process has 20 steps and they might follow 15 steps but then they forget the other 5 steps somewhere in between, and then I would watch what they did, and then I get frustrated. I'm like, why do these people not know how to do things the way I know how to do things? It just makes no sense, and these are simple processes. Like, you don't need a genius to figure this stuff out, right? And so then what I started having people do is build checklists. So for example, if I send you a video, then what I want a checklist. If it's going to be something that we're going to do over and over again, for example, we want to start building checklists for these things. And so that way, the next time we have people do things, they simply just go through the checklist and they check off the items one by one. So what happens when you do that is then people start making significantly less mistakes because every step that they're supposed to follow is now on a checklist. This caused my stress level to go down from like 80% down to like 5%. We have significantly less mistakes. And usually, if someone joins our company and they make mistakes, it's because they're not following the checklist. So we're very, 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 very big on checklists. It's honestly one of the best things I've ever implemented. I wish every business we would work with would implement checklists for their own business. Now, we can't build these checklists for you because obviously you have to figure out what you're doing, how you like things to get done. But then the way we outsource, film a video, create a checklist, and then people start watching the videos and then following the checklist to perform whatever action they have to perform. Now, another thing is if you're brand new and you're doing a lot of things that maybe you haven't built processes for, you can show the EA how to do something and then they can help you build out the SOPs so that future people will follow the checklist and the videos that you build out. So that kind of like you hiring the right person for that role can then make everyone else's job easier because then they can help automate the every department that you build out in the future. And if you don't have a lot of departments, it's just you and one person, whatever, that's fine. Still, they can perform these tasks on their own for that you assign them.
Definitely. And
So that's
having those SOPs in place also protects you in case something happens and your EA leaves or somebody leaves from your company. You have those processes in place. So somebody coming on board, you can train them very easily. Just say, check this checklist, follow the steps, and they can essentially pick it up very quickly.
100%. Yeah, because I mean turnover is a real thing in every company. You're always going to have people come in, you're going to have people go out for whatever reason, either they get better job offers, whatever, right? And so when you have these things built out, you just The next person comes in, they have the videos ready, they have the checklist ready, they learn the process from scratch, and then you're good to go.
Definitely. Another way to set up, building off of how to set up your EA for success, right off the bat. Um, Defining decision authority, like what do they have control over decisions? What can they decide on, and what do you need to be involved in? Making it very clear from the beginning will give them confidence to perform at a high level right off the bat. Because if they come in and they have to ask you like, do I need your permission on this? Do I need to ask you what to do here? That will get old very quickly, and it's going to keep taking up your time instead of having a clear outline of what they can do themselves and what they need to escalate. So that's a big thing as well, to help them set up for success right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, 100%. And with that, we're not saying you should like just trust people's judgment right off the bat and things like that. Obviously, it needs to be more gradual, but like if I assign a task to somebody, right, and they create the checklist and then I check it, everything's good, then they do it once and it comes out good, then it's like, okay, now I don't need to worry about this task anymore. The next task you assign to them, then obviously you want to see them do it again. And then so that's how you start letting go. Because if you have to like micromanage every step of the way, then you're not really going to be delegating. You're just going to be micromanaging somebody else instead of doing the task yourself. Which in a lot of cases, if you do the task yourself, you'll actually do it faster. Than if you were to delegate to someone else. And we hear that all the time. It's like, yeah, but I can do this a lot faster. It's like, yes, but then you will never be able to grow the business as fast as you could otherwise because you're busy doing all these things that you're the best at, sure. But it's like, okay, you've got 20 hours here, you've got 10 hours here, you've got 10 hours there, and now you have no more time to grow the business, right? So that's why this is important that you teach someone how to do something, have the checklist ready, and then completely letting go after they show that they can actually do these tasks for you.
definitely. And as you grow, there's going to be more and more tasks. So even if you can do it now, there's no point in trying to keep up because things change so quickly that you need processes in place and someone helping you out on that side of things.
Yeah. And also another thing, by the way, is I've been noticing this is happening more and more often in remote leverage specifically, is that as the business grows, these people should be smart enough to then organically grow the processes in a way that fits the new size of the business. Because the way you built something initially might be sufficient at that company size, but then as you hire more people, as you grow in revenue and customers, things will start breaking. And this is why it's very important that you hire smart people to be executive assistants because they should look at your processes and say, okay, we're seeing a lot of drop off at this specific thing. We need to build a better process here, build a better process there. And now at this point in remote leverage, I would say there are a lot of areas that I don't know what's going on personally because the way I built it back in the day is not the same way it is today. And they've organically grown their own departments and their own processes where it's like, okay, I know things are going well. I don't have to know exactly how they do things, but I do see that the process has improved. And I'm so busy building the next, thing at remote leverage. I don't have the time to like go deal with that because I don't need to. Somebody else is already handling it. I know it's working out well, and so that will also help you in growing these different tasks that you delegate because things are not going to stay the same forever. They will need to change as you grow the business.
Absolutely. And then lastly, one more thing I want to talk about setting up for success. I think communication. It sounds like a small thing, but setting up weekly meetings with your executive assistant, like not being on top of them all day, every day, but yes, having weekly meetings to touch base, talk about what's going well, talk about this needs to be improving. Things like that is great, especially in a remote setting. I've always said this, it's very important to talk because if you're kind of like on your both of your own things, then you don't know what's going on each other's side of things, and you don't see each other in person. So it's very
Yeah.
important to talk.
Yeah. Giving feedback honestly about their work and what you like and what you don't like, so that way they can actually improve. Because if you don't tell them anything, then they're never going to get better. Now, I know a lot of companies are against meetings because they see it as a waste of time. I'm personally a big fan of meetings. I do meetings with almost everybody, really, at least 2 or 3 times. When I say everybody, I don't mean like every employee because we have 150 people, but I mean like the people that are relevant to me, for example, because they work with me directly. I'll meet them 2 or 3 times a week consistently. So like, and if there's a project that I'm particularly interested in, I will meet with people every single day or maybe even twice a day, right? And there'll be small like catch up meetings. Like for right now, we're building a new product and, I'm meeting two people, EAs, twice a day because it's like here are the tasks I want to give you. I don't want to have to figure them out. Here are the tasks. And then I'll meet you, at the end of the day to see what progress you made and what tasks you've assigned yourselves for tomorrow so that we can continue building the new product, right? And so that's how I like to do it. I'm very big on meetings and then I give people very brutal, honest feedback. And Adam knows this about me. Back in the day, he wasn't used to how I do things, but it's like if there's something I don't like, I will not sugarcoat it. I'll be like, hey, I don't like this. I don't like what you guys are doing here. I need it changed, or this is not up to my standard. And you have to be that way, otherwise they're not going to improve because they think they're doing well, but they're not maybe up to your standards. So it's very important that you give them honest feedback. Now, what skills to look for when you interview an executive assistant? So just to kind of go over how we do interviews, by the way, just this might be helpful for a lot of you guys. You come to us, you speak with a sales rep, you tell the sales rep what you want, and so then they assign you a hiring manager. The hiring manager's job is to then figure out what role you're trying to hire for. Then they go meet a bunch of candidates on your behalf that we get in our database. And then they bring you, one or maybe two high quality people that fit exactly what you want. And so then your job is to meet with those candidates, one or two candidates, and just make sure that they're actually the right fit for you, right? Because in a lot of cases, like we might feel like they're the right fit, but then maybe there's a personality mismatch or whatever. So we like to have like that final kind of check off where it's like not only were they interviewed by our recruiters and then the hiring manager who's assigned to you, who knows your business a lot more and what tasks you want to delegate, but then you're kind of the final approval point essentially, right? So when you meet these executive assistants, for example, if you're trying to hire for that role, what should you be looking for? Adam, do you have anything you want to say on that before we proceed?
I do, I do. I'm going to talk about the skills, the actual skills that you should be looking for, and then I'm also going to talk about the personality traits because I think it's important to mention both.
Yeah.
So as far as skills go, written communication, strong written communication is very important. Obviously, you want them to be managing your emails, so you want them to speak like a professional, right? You don't want them to use slang or whatever it may be, especially with AI. If they can use AI somehow to make your emails nice, like that's also a good thing to look for. Calendar management experience obviously is a big one. Inbox management, of course. CRM experience. We've seen people come through asking for like specific CRM experience, which we see over and over again that all CRMs are essentially the same. They do pretty much the same thing. Maybe there's a few nuances here and there that people need to pick up, but CRM experience in general is great because they can pick up any CRM. If they've used one, they've used them all,
Yeah.
essentially.
If you know how to use HubSpot, you can learn how to use Salesforce and all the other. They're kind of all the same.
Exactly, exactly. Um, Another skill to look for is if they've organized file systems, if they've organized whatever computer file systems. Being tidy is a big thing to look for. Being tech savvy is a big one nowadays, especially. Like I mentioned before, AI, it's overtaking everything as we've all seen. So if you can't use AI, like almost in any job nowadays, you're gonna fall behind probably. So all of our candidates that we see come through, most executive assistants are very savvy with AI. So that's definitely a good thing to look for. Discretion obviously is a big one because they may be handling confidential things for your company and they need to be trustworthy people. So check for that as well. And then obviously being able to prioritize things, tasks and things like that as they come up is a big one as well.
Yeah. I would say being tech savvy is probably one of the most important things because the last thing you want is to assign them a task and then they can't figure out how to do it because they don't know how to use Google Suite or they don't know how to
Mhm.
use whatever website that you assign them. Like they should be tech savvy and tech savvy people will figure out new websites, new technology without you needing to like guide them through it. Like for example, if I hire someone to access our CRM and they haven't accessed our CRM, I'm sure they can figure it out. They should be smart enough to figure it out once they log in, right? So you want somebody that's tech savvy. And this also leads into personality traits. You also want someone who's going to be very detail oriented, right? Because if you assign them tasks, you don't want to have to go check after them to see if they missed out on something, right? They should be the ones doing that towards the things you do, right? And so if I assign an executive assistant a task, I expect it to be done at a very detailed level. And if I notice that it's not, then they're probably not the right EA for you. Because if they're leaving a mess behind and you're leaving a mess behind because you're busy building the next thing or whatever, then the whole business is going to be chaotic. Um, let's see, what else do I look for? What else? I want people that can just figure things out. You know, if someone requires permission from me to like, hey, I'm thinking about this thing, it's like you don't need to tell me, just go do it. Just go do it. You know what I mean? Like I don't want you to come to me with every because now I'm gonna have to think about the things you're supposed to be thinking about for the business. You know what I mean? So that's another big thing that I look for. Anything else, Adam, that you look for?
Yeah, a calm demeanor I think is a big one. Like as things get stressful, because small businesses, medium-sized businesses, whatever, any business, it gets stressful on a day-to-day basis. So I think not getting flustered as things get stressful, if conflicting events pop up or whatever it may be, being calm is important. At the same time, on the other side of the coin, being energetic. You can be calm and energetic, right? You can have a good personality and still keep your cool. So that's actually one of the biggest things I look for when I'm interviewing for internal, or even if I'm like advising clients. Personality is a big one. Like if they're energetic on the interview, that's probably how they are in person, because it is a high stress situation. So if they can have a good personality in that situation, I think that's something to look for sure. Um, High ownership, low ego, being proactive, just being able to take things off your plate actually, and you not having to look over their shoulder the whole time, obviously, is a big
Yeah,
thing.
100%, 100%. Yeah, I would say these are the most important things. But yeah, like for me, being able to just figure things, if they have the ability to figure things out on their own, everything else becomes easy. Especially for an executive assistant position, because a lot of the tasks you give them, you might not have built out the processes yourself. Like for example, if you tell them to go build an SOP for a specific task, you haven't done it, which is why you're giving it to them. And so they should be able to figure it out on their own. And if they struggle or they come back and it's like, well, wait, hold on, but how do I do this? It's like, okay, you're just not the right fit. You can't, you're not going to be able to figure it out.
Definitely.
Yeah. 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 So that's as far as that goes. I want to talk about also some of the most common mistakes that business owners make. Let's talk about that.
All right, I have a good list of these. We see them all the time. We do, like I said, we hire a lot of executive assistants, and then sometimes they come back and like, I they need assistance, or they have questions about the hire they made.
Or they need
Um,
replacements as well.
or
That
then
happens. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So a big one that we see is when people hire too late. Maybe they're already very overwhelmed and are like drowning at their company, and they hire someone, right? They want to hire an executive assistant at that point, which they will get a lot of help from them. But when they're already drowning, it's going to be hard to train somebody. It's going to be hard to have them jump in and not feel overwhelmed right off the bat. So hiring preemptively and not when you actually need them is better. Like, because then you have time to train them, show them the ropes, and not have them just like drown with you, right? That's never going to be fun. Another one, not delegating actual ownership. Maybe you say, yeah, you take care of this, but then you're checking in with them every 5 minutes. Did this get done? Did you do this? Watching over the shoulder, right? That's not going to be good. And maybe the executive assistant quits because of it, or that definitely is going to feel like micromanaging at some point. Another one is not setting clear KPIs or expectations. Maybe they just have them start working and here, do this, start with this, and the executive assistant isn't sure where to go, right? They don't have any goals to work towards. So they can be even simple things like response times on inboxes, maybe checking on double booking, making sure they're not double booking on your calendar, accuracy on the CRM, making sure that notes are updated, whatever it may be, make sure that they're worried about the things that they need to be doing. Otherwise, they might get sidetracked and not focus on the
Yeah.
important stuff.
Yeah. Like maybe one of your things is, you know what? I want to make sure that any new lead comes in, you send them out a text message, whatever, an email. Like they need to understand that is important to you, right? So that way they do it, and then they have maybe build out or have them build out a way for them to track their response rates in those situations, right? Or it's like by the time I come in the morning, I want my emails emptied out, and you only leave the important ones, right? And so it's like you set expectations of what you want to happen in the business, or for you specifically, so that you can be more efficient. And if they're not hitting those, then they should either be removed or reprimanded so that way they get better. But it's like having those clear expectations is what will help them and you succeed, because if they don't know what's important to you, then they're not going to be able to do it.
Absolutely. We see it all the time. We see it all the time. People kind of just like expecting everything to happen without any guidance or anything like that. And it is very important to set expectations.
Yeah.
A few other ones that I see a lot is maybe people not setting up those check-ins that I talked about earlier, not communicating so that the executive assistant kind of feels like they're wandering with no purpose, right? So it is good to have those check-ins. They're not mind readers. That's a big thing to remember. They're not robots. They do need a little bit of like touching base with you. Otherwise, they may feel lost.
Yeah.
Um,
By the way, speaking of touching base, I know we said a week. I highly personally recommend you meet with them once a day. Even if it's 15 minutes, just to kind of see what they've done, what they're expected to do tomorrow. Just meet them once a day. And later on, once you trust them more and they already know what to do, whatever, then you can reduce these meetings.
Definitely good. And then another one that we see is people treating their EA like more like a task bot, like maybe like they feel like they're just automating these tasks to the people, but they should be looking at them more like a strategic partner, right? They're hiring this person to help grow the company, to make sure that everything's in place to grow the company. So if you need a bot, you can get some stuff automated. You're hiring this person to be a partner at your company and help you get bigger and always getting better.
Yeah.
Um,
So here's the way I look at it. Whenever I'm building out a new process, for example, in the business, right? We want to have an EA handle those things, because figuring out how to build a process correctly, I need somebody smart to do that. I don't want someone who is going to require my input in the actual building of the process. However, once that process is already built out and now, it's just doing it and it's super basic. I want to take this person and then assign them, better tasks, higher level tasks, and then I'll take the build process and then I'll assign an admin to do it. And an admin is going to be cheaper per hour. They don't expect to go build things on their own, so they can last a very long time doing repeatable tasks with no problem. Whereas an EA, like for example, like if somebody's very smart and then you have them do data entry all day long, they'll probably quit on you, right? Because they expect to have more work assigned to them, which is good for you, right? You want people like that are proactive.
Definitely, and there will always be more work coming in. Definitely, and they'll always be able to find stuff too. If they're a good executive assistant, they'll find things to do. They'll say, "Hey, let's do this. This is
Yeah.
something we can do to like change this process. Let's do this to make it better."
Yeah. But
If
by the way, another very interesting point, Adam, on that, a lot of times one of the most common things we hear people say is like, well, I don't have enough work to delegate to them. And it's like, okay, well, do you have your CRM built out now? Do you have pipeline built out for when new leads come in now? Do you have this and this and this and this? It's like they have nothing built and they think they have nothing to assign. And I think that's a big mistake. And it's because a lot of times they just don't understand how much work there is to do that has not been done in the business. And so that, and in many cases, it's because they're so good at doing these tasks very quickly in between the important work, but then the important work suffers because something that's supposed to take 2 hours, right, ends up taking 6 hours, 7, 8 hours, because now they're doing a bunch of things in between and they're so good at it and they don't have any processes built out. They think, well, I don't need somebody to do this. I can just do it myself. But that's kind of where you lose like half of your day or majority of your day doing dumb things that somebody else could have been doing for you.
Definitely, and we see a lot of people that they do like technically hire them part time just to like do a ramp up period to make sure for the training and everything like that. But then they quickly find that there are a lot of things to be done that an executive assistant can help with. So that's a,
100%.
a, a tactic that you
And
can use.
especially if someone is experienced, by the way. So I highly recommend not hiring someone who's not experienced. You don't want to be their experiment and to realize whether they're a good EA or not. You want someone that has experience, whether working at a small company or a big company, because then they come in and they look at the way you run your business, and especially if it's your first EA, for example, and they're like, you know what? I see what you're doing here. But at my previous company, we had this process built out, so I'm going to build it out for you, right? And so they can do that across many different things that you do, and I can promise you they can keep themselves very busy and improve the business operations significantly when they do things like that.
Definitely. And then one last one that I had, which I think is a big one, is not giving them access to tools, hiring an executive assistant and not having the tools in place, whether it's a CRM or even just like some sort of software that's going to help them excel in their job, or even just being open to bringing on new tools to your system. That's another thing, just being open to change and like adding new things to help your company.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like a lot of times, like we said, the business owners doing things their own way, but their own way of doing things is just not scalable. And that becomes a problem because if you want to delegate these things, but you have, for example, let's say the way you write down your tasks is on your phone, like these sort of things need to be upgraded so that the business can scale beyond you, right? And so that's very important. I think another important thing that we probably forgot to mention is the time zone. Like for me, if we're hiring an executive assistant, I will only hire from Latin America because if you hire them from the Philippines and let's say, they don't work the same hours as you, for example, they're not going to be of much help because you need them during the day, right? So if you live in the US, you want them to work the same hours as you, obviously. So that way during the day, it's like if I ping someone, it's like, hey, I need this task done. I shouldn't have to wait until tomorrow to see it getting done. I want somebody working on it immediately. So that's another big thing. And that's why, like personally, you can hire from any country you want. We get people from Latin America, we get people from Philippines, South Africa, Egypt. Now we were even actually adding European countries. So we can get from any region. However, my recommendation is you hire somebody from Latin America for these sort of positions, just for that, time zone alignment, cultural alignment, things like that. Especially if they work, by the way, especially if they work well with you or if they work with you the whole day, you want them to also understand cultural, lingo and expectations and things like that. Because like in some cultures, they might not be as willing to push back on something that you're already doing and they'll just adopt it. And that to me is a mistake because they might know better and they just stay quiet because they're kind of say, I don't know, too afraid to speak up or they don't want to voice their opinions. And then the business kind of stays the same instead of improving because they're not applying their knowledge. So that's kind of why I also want a culturally aligned region for this sort of position because they should be able to communicate with me if they think they have a better idea than I do. And if it is a better idea, then we need to implement that process into the business versus just, me pushing my own way on every little thing where it's like that might not be the right way of doing things.
Definitely. A lot of the great ideas, even recently, that we've been having at Remote Leverage are just because we've been talking to team members about like things they think that could be a good change or like ideas they've had or issues they're having that we can use, make a solution for. It just talking to people helps you make changes at your company. So just
100%.
definitely a good idea.
What's interesting, I would say, looking at remote leverage and our growth, one of the best things that has helped us grow the most is me just talking to people that are doing the work, whether it's hiring managers or sales reps or recruiters, whatever. And it's like, tell me how you think you would improve the business, right? And then they tell you all these great ideas. And honestly, in my experience, those have been the most pivotal changes to the business. And now that we've grown, we have now about 145, 150 people in the company. I don't have the time to do that as often. I know Adam is always busy, other people are always busy. And so we're even implementing things like an idea box where essentially you submit your ideas online and then I get to read all of these ideas as well. Like we constantly try to figure out ways to get feedback from people that work here on how to improve the business because a lot of times they know a lot better because they're dealing with the processes that are built out date every single day. And so that they can give you a lot of good feedback. And so if you have someone that's, for example, an EA, and especially if you're a smaller business, you want to hear out their thoughts because in many cases, they might have better processes from a previous company they've worked at or a previous job or whatever that they can then bring into the business. And that will help you move a lot faster than you trying to kind of impose the way you've been doing things. Anything
Awesome.
else we did not cover? I'm curious. Let's see. We went over common mistakes. Now, what if they don't work out? Honestly, another thing, if they don't work out, you can tell very quickly. A lot of times, like in the first week, if they seem like they need to rely on you for every little thing, or you feel like it's a drag just to get them to do basic things, then they're not the right fit. And in those cases, come back to us. We give everybody, by the way, 6 month replacement guarantee, so we can replace them for you very easily. So highly recommend that you make a decision on whether somebody is the right fit or not very quickly. It shouldn't take too long once you
Yeah, I
hire
think
them.
that's another mistake that a lot of our clients do make is just waiting too long on people that don't feel like a great fit right away. Because
Yeah.
you can tell within the first couple weeks, and in that case, come back for the free replacement because it's a
Yeah.
no-brainer, honestly.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. 100%. All right, I want to move on to questions. If anyone has a question, feel free to either unmute yourself or just post a question in the chat. We're happy to answer any questions. Are we going to receive this in recording? Yes, absolutely. This will be recorded and sent out to everyone who signs up. Basically, establish the outcome and expectations 100%. How do we interview for these skills? So I think I'm going to butcher your name, Jana. You know, it really depends. So I'll tell you this: the hiring managers that you work with, who are going to be on the interview, you can have them handle the questions, and so they will ask questions in a way to figure out if somebody has these type of qualities that you should be looking for. So you can have the hiring manager kind of deal with that. We will handle that for you. Now, if you want the hiring manager to also choose who they think is the best fit, which by the way, I recommend that you use that strategy. Whenever you come work with us, we give you two options. You can either have us choose for you and then we present you our top pick, or you can interview 4 to 6 candidates that we choose and then you choose the top pick. I recommend that you let our hiring managers do that because they fill many, 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 many different positions every single day. And executive assistants, by the way, like I said, are probably the second most common. So they see the patterns of the ones that succeed versus the ones that end up needing to be replaced and that sort of thing. So I highly recommend you just rely on our team because they're even more experienced at interviews than I am because they do so many every single day. So I don't think it's a skill you necessarily need to learn because we already do that. Any other questions? Feel free to toss them in the chat. I think for me, having an executive assistant that is tech savvy, utilizing AI, creating, managing automations, workflows for the business with Make Zapier, what is expected compensation for this type? So great question, Michelle. Just to give you an idea, we're very heavy at remote leverage on AI. We build AI tools all the time because to me, people make mistakes, but if you build software and you build technology and things like that, the chance of error is significantly lower. And so, one of the first things we like to do is, like, if there's a process that we do over and over again, is we think about how do we automate it. And so, you definitely want people that are tech savvy enough to be able to figure those things out. And so, what what can happen if you hire the right person that is tech savvy? I don't know if I would call them executive assistants. Currently, when we hire people like that, they have the same skill sets of an executive assistant, but they also are very tech savvy. And so for those, we actually put them in the tech team. But overall, the qualities are very, very similar. They're just extremely tech savvy. So we do put them in a tech team. We don't put them as an executive assistant. Um, in terms of hourly rates, I would say generally speaking, you probably want to budget about $10 to $12 per hour. Now, could you hire someone cheaper? 100%. You could hire someone cheaper. I don't recommend it because if you want someone that's going to be tech savvy, very smart, able to make their own decisions and help you build the business, you don't want to go cheap on that. You want the best people you can hire. And so for us, typically most EAs are going to be between 10 to 12. If you want someone that's extremely talented with tech, you might have to go up to 14 or something like that, you know. So, but I would say 10 to 12 will get you a very good person for the most part. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially like you're saying, you want someone that leverages AI and builds tech in your company and tech tools and things like that. Then yeah, you probably want to shoot for the higher range. What's the best way to incentivize productivity? Evan, great question. So for us, depending on the role, everyone has their own compensation structure that includes hourly, but also bonuses based on the tasks they do. Like our sales reps obviously get commissions, our hiring managers get commissions, our recruiters get. So like 95% of the company has a commission structure of some sort. Almost everybody has a commission structure. When it comes to the tech team, it's very difficult. Tech team slash executive assistants, it's very difficult to have a commission structure per se because they will work on a lot of different tasks. And these tasks, are different. Like sometimes it's a small task, sometimes it's a large task, whatever. Personally, the way I do it is I just give random bonuses. So it's like you've been doing really well at this. Here's 250 bucks. Here's 500 bucks, whatever. And so they will always want to do better and better and better because they're going to get these bonuses. I don't specifically have a structure where it's like, hey, you do this task, I'm going to give you like 100 bucks. I don't do that because a lot of times these tasks are very different. Now, what I will tell you is this: the way I give out bonuses, if it's a sales position, typically I want their bonuses to be like 50 to 100% of their base. So we heavily incentivize our sales reps on bonuses. But if for roles like tech and EA, you want the bonuses to be between 0%. If they're just doing their job, nothing impressive. 10% if they're going above average, like they do a few things per month that actually impress you. 20% of their base if they're doing really well, things that kind of blow your mind. And if they're doing that, then you should give them about 20% in bonuses. And how do you divide that up? Really kind of is up to you. But for example, if somebody's making, say, $1,000 a month, you're not going to get a good EA for that. But let's say $1,000 a month, then you want to give them $200 in bonuses. If they're making 2,000 a month and they're really doing impressive work that blows your mind, where you're like, wow, this is so good, then you probably want to give them $300, $400, right? Just as a random bonus. And these random bonuses will become frequent enough where they can kind of count on it as long as they keep impressing you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I honestly, I haven't been able to figure out like a situation where it's like as easy as the sales positions and that because these are so easy to measure on KPIs. But yeah, like you said, EA backend admin very difficult. So if somebody's just doing their job though, I don't give out bonuses. Like you have to actually go beyond. Any other questions? Happy to answer any questions before we wrap up. By the way, for those that are thinking about hiring an executive assistant or really any position for that matter, go on our website. I'm going to put it in the chat, remoteleverage.com. You can go on our website, book a call with a team member, and then tell them exactly what you're looking for. They're going to connect you with the right hiring manager. And then the hiring manager can then do a search for you, interview candidates, and then present you the topic. And then you don't have to pay us until you hire someone. So it's completely risk free. When you talk to a sales rep, if you want to proceed, you put down $100 refundable deposit. It's 100% refundable. So until you hire someone, you meet the right candidate, you hire someone, you don't have to pay us. So it's completely risk-free. Highly recommend you book a call if you're thinking about hiring. I can see someone getting complacent and falling into just doing the bare minimum, trying to find ways to not let that happen. So thank you. You're welcome anytime. So remoteleverage.com, that's our website. You can book a call with a sales rep, and then they will get you the hiring manager that can then help you with hiring. What if you really are not excited about the candidates presented? Is it okay to ask for another 100%, Michelle? Yeah. If you don't like the candidates, for sure, ask for another batch. We can definitely do that. Um, Personally, I would rather you do that and hire the right person so that then you can actually benefit from hiring and grow the business and then come back and hire more people than for you to hire the wrong person just to move forward with. So highly recommend you do that. Our hiring managers do expect that. In many cases, the client might not like the people presented, so we can definitely do that for you. No problem at all. Yeah, any role, any role.
Mm.
Sales, executive assistant, marketing, developers, really any position.
Yeah, we would rather have you do four different rounds and get the right person instead of hiring somebody right off the bat and then you have to come back for a replacement because as we said before, there is a 6-month replacement guarantee. So you would come back and we would do another round anyways.
Yeah.
So
Now,
might as
now
well
the
find the right
replacements
person.
are free for you. So like you can get a replacement from us, no problem. But we want to avoid you having to train a person or two people for one position, right? We want you to have the right fit the first time so that way you don't have to do it over. But in the case where you do have to fire someone and get a replacement, come back to us, we'll get you a replacement. But hopefully we want to get it right the first time. By the way, you'll never have 100% batting average. Even when we hire internally at Remote Leverage, we hire the wrong people that to work for us, and it is what it is. We just remove them and get a replacement. But that's another thing I tell people all the time is like don't be too careful when you're hiring because then you might not hire somebody who would have been a great fit for you. We've seen that happen too. And then sometimes we're like, well, can I get that person? It's like, no, they got hired, you know? So, but yeah, if you're not happy with somebody, for sure, get another batch. Any other questions? Does anybody else have any other questions? By the way, I think executive assistants are probably one of the last hires people make that they should probably do sooner. Like people usually wait too long before they hire an executive assistant. Sometimes they come in too early where it's like they want to hire an executive assistant, but they don't even have anything going on yet. Don't do that. But like as soon as you have some kind of business operation going, you should probably hire someone because there's a lot of things to build out that are being bottlenecked by your time availability. And so hiring the right person can easily unlock 10, 20, 30 hours. Now, sometimes people also come to us and they're like, well, I don't have enough work for a full-time person yet. And it's like, well, number one, you can hire them part-time if you want. I don't recommend that. I recommend you hire full-time because the purpose of hiring an EA is to help you grow the business. And so if you only have enough work for them to do for 20 hours right now, if they do the right things, then the business will grow and they will easily be busy full time. And so, and also another thing is you never want to hire when you actually need people fully at 40 hours because by then it's too late and you're not going to have time to onboard them properly or do anything right. So you want to hire when you only have about, probably 15, 20 hours of work for them to do. And then basically they will help you grow and then they will get busier, you will get busier, then you probably need to hire another one and that's rinse and repeat. Could you explain briefly how remote leverage operates after you find a good candidate? Is it a monthly fee and do we pay our EA directly? Thank you so much. Natalia, great question. So there's two models when it comes to hiring. You can either hire through a staffing agency model where essentially you pay the company and the company pays whoever you decide to work with. I don't like that model because then they get a percentage of the payroll every single month. They might sell you somebody at 3,000 a month, but the person you hire is only getting paid 700 per month, which means, by the way, not only are you paying monthly to the company, but you're also getting low quality people because someone who's actually qualified, who's as good as you want them to be, is not going to take 700. They want a full salary, right? And so staffing agencies, I don't like that model at all. I prefer our model, which is basically where you hire direct. So when you come to us and you want to hire for any position, we interview people, we help you find someone, you choose them, you guys negotiate the hourly rate, we'll help you with that. And then whatever you pay them goes 100% to the person you hire. What we do is we essentially get paid a hiring fee when you decide to hire someone, and that's it. It's a one-time transaction essentially with us. And then everything else, all the future payments you make go directly to the person you hire. And then if you want to hire multiple people, we even have discounts where it's like, we have bundles and things like that. So I prefer that option because I feel like it's more beneficial for our clients because now if you hire someone for $12 an hour, they actually get paid the whole $12 an hour. We're not getting, a 60% cut from their pay. Because if we were doing that, you would not get a good person anymore because good people will not accept, having 60% or 70%, whatever, of their pay taken. Any other questions? Anyone else? No questions. Wow, we're actually getting done right on time. 1 hour. That's phenomenal. Very cool. Well, awesome, guys. Thank you so much. If you have not booked a call with a sales rep yet and you want to hire for any position, go on our website, remote.leverage.com. Again, you don't have to pay us until you hire someone, so it's completely risk-free. Otherwise, if you need anything, let us know. But thank you so much for joining. It's been great having you all here, and we will see you all next time.